well, first of all, you could download this app on your phone, and then you could sync the phone with your gaming account so that there was connection there, so you could verify a result, and then you could matchmake with another guy. You could put a coin or something into a wallet, and then create a pot, and then you could play. And then whoever won that game, you would verify the result once the match was finished, and that person, the dummy coin would move, or the pot would move to his wallet.
Welcome everybody to another episode of How Would You Build It? I've got my sidekick Rainier back in town. How are you doing, Rainier?
Yeah, lekker man. Good to be home on a better mic.
Yeah. He's back with his mic. And today we're talking to the founder of Skiirmish. Very excited to hear about his story. Last year got a nice round of funding in a time when most people were scrounging and trying to figure out what they were going to do and how they were going to pay the bills. So I'm really excited to have Chris and to hear your story. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Thank you very much for having me, Bob. Yeah, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you both. Scrounging last year, it feels like I'm always scrounging for cash. I think that's the nature of the beast. We're here in startup life, and at the early stage that we're at, it's just one of those things. But I've become a master scrounger over the last few years, I think.
Nice. Well, for those people that haven't heard, I mean, we did have a piece in the newsletter. So for anyone that missed that is watching this, go have a look at the open letter. You'll find we did a piece on Skiirmish and just the kind of nature of online gaming and esports. I mean, what an industry. I mean, coming from a sports background myself, seeing that kind of pivot into esports and the absolute opportunity that was there, what I felt a couple of years ago, and I assume that it's still very much the case. It's still an industry waiting to blow up. Chris, do you want to give us an elevator pitch of what Skiirmish is and the space you play in?
Yeah, sure. Skiirmish is a play-to-earn app, not in the way that you'd probably be thinking, like, when people say play-to-earn, you think of these, blockchain-based games and so on.
Mm-hmm.
We've built as a platform, an application that allows gamers that play AAA games like Call of Duty, Fortnite, League of Legends to play and earn while they play. And the way we do that is we've taken a kind of a traditional sportsbook approach, and we smashed that together with AAA video games. So now giving any gamer the ability to back themselves within a skill-based challenge. And they do that by picking from a variety of in-game challenges, which we then price for them based on their historical data in the game, and they pay an entry fee, and that gives you a potential prize opportunity because they get to choose the entry fee amount, and if they're successful in completing those in-game challenges, then they win the prize. If they don't, we keep the entry fee. And just to give you an idea of when I say in-game challenges, if we take Fortnite for an example, it could be get 5 kills, it could be get 3 kills in top 10, it could be outright winner. And every single one of those challenges gets priced accordingly, and then these guys pay and play. So yeah, we are pioneering this technology on the planet. We were the first ones to market with it. There are a few other players doing it now as well. And we're seeing some really, really great early stage success. We've been building this for quite a few years now and have gone through significant pivots as most technical startups do. But we're in a very good space, a very exciting space right now. There's definitely a massive opportunity around, like looking at the global market. We need to think big and something in the tech space, And it came down to me like talking about the online poker model. And I used to play poker a bit online. My sins when you could still do that here in South Africa, and good old
Pix poker,
Silver Sands, won a couple of competitions there, and it's like, is there anything like that for gamers? And he wasn't aware of anything. There were lots of very established tournament platforms that really cater for the best of the best globally, which feel quite exclusive, but not much in the inclusive environment or catering for an inclusive community. And further journey of discovery to look to see what was out there that offered peer-to-peer wagering. The concept of peer-to-peer wagering in the esports space is not new. It's been around for some time. In fact, I got to meet someone who had been building something in that space maybe 12 years ago already, but the technology wasn't there and open API stuff wasn't there for them to actually do it successfully. But there was a lot of interesting learnings from talking to that gent. And it was like, so could we maybe build some cool technology that could allow gamers to do this? And this is the path that we took. and we built something out, and we raised a bit of money, and we built a POC and raised a bit of cash off that, and got going. But sure, what a learning journey. Like it's it's like that, and it's still going. Like it feels like it's almost like that now. The peer-to-peer thing and the free tournaments we launched with as an initial product offering into market, and that was really to test the thing, to see if there was appetite for what we were doing. But we learned reasonably fast that the peer-to-peer thing, for it to be successful, you needed a huge amount of player liquidity. And to get a huge amount of player liquidity, you need a lot of cash to be able to acquire those customers. If you're looking to take a rake off the top of every game that's played, you need to have a substantial amount of people playing on your platform every time, and that then allowing a really rich experience for the gamers. If you've got gamers all around the world competing on your platform, for them to have a good experience, there needs to be a lot of people there at any given time of the day, and that's difficult to achieve. And those that have tried to do that have seemingly failed, like significant. And we were on course to fail as well, I think. But after meeting Luke, my CEO, who I got the business a couple of years back, he came in on an investment round. Him and I were in a meeting with a US-based VC, and we were discussing our service offering, and kind of this concept of player versus house got brought to the table in that discussion. And then Luke and I kind of went back with our thinking caps on, and we're like, there's something here. This company is not making any money as yet, and we're burning through a lot quite quickly, that maybe we need to change something up here. And it was quite a big structural change for us, but we managed to bootstrap something together. And this was back in early part of last year that we figured this out. And then we pushed a very rough piece of that into our current technology, put it out there, and suddenly saw some money coming. I was like, okay, this is it. So we switched off marketing and rebuilt the product over a 3-month period, and then relaunched this player versus house technology back end of August last year. And very, very quickly it did that. And what we had learned from the kind of year and a half or so gone by on the other stuff was how to acquire customers quite effectively. And so it was a very straight pivot. We switched off the peer-to-peer thing, and we switched off the free tournaments, and we forged on. We built an incredible product, and we then saw a couple of the old peer-to-peer wagering competitors out there doing a similar shift, whether it came from us or somewhere else. There was movement there into something new, which can work if you get it right, and we're seeing it at the moment. So that's a little bit linking it back to coming from the sporting space from an agency point of view. Also played a bit of rugger after school for Wits University, so also a little bit of an avid sportsman, or was. I got old.
You're not old,
Cool. Yeah, I'm actually 25.
But we've had a few stressful Springbok games as of late. Like, everybody looks a bit older.
My hair color was the same as Bobby's up until a couple of weeks ago when we played them.
Until the knockout games of the World Cup. Chris, so you mentioned a lot of interesting things. One thing that I find fascinating is, you've built a successful business, which was a services business agency, if you were, and to take a plunge from there into like something that no one has done in the world ever before. Like, what was the thinking there? Firstly, I mean, did you anticipate it getting traction a lot sooner, hence it was easier making the decision? Like was there a bit of naivety that helped you take the plunge, or how did you go about making this decision to go from services into product, and also from something that's been working to something that no one's tried to do before?
So really, there's probably a few little components there. So I think let's start with the first one. So I was sick and tired of the service industry and people crushing, I guess, the creative spirit by wanting you to work harder, be more creative, but want to pay less for that creativity. And clients can be quite bloodthirsty. We had some really lovely clients through the years, and they were very loyal to us, and we did some really, really incredible work and built some very amazing relationships and friendships. But as much as I enjoyed it, and it was incredible learning for me and building that business out and the successes that we had, but you go through, it's an endless roller coaster of successes and failures, and a lot of emotion that's attached to that. And like this whole meeting of Roland and kind of going along this route, there was just something there And, just the chance of how we managed to connect was odd. And I look back at it now and you kind of say, like, sometimes things just happen for a reason. It's not because you're an idiot. Sometimes there's value in these things. And, I met Roland's principal in the business just by us crossing paths in a new office that I just moved Brand Inc. into. And we got chatting in a corridor and invited me for a coffee to talk about what his business did and what mine did. And, when I told him what we were doing, he was like, listen, I've got a production company that I own a piece of, and please give us the opportunity to quote on some business if you're creating some content. And I was like, sure, Casper, yeah, no problem. And this activation came about for Nasher and Direct Access. And I went to my usual that I would to create this kind of content that I'd used 100 times before. And he wasn't available. He turned me down. So I was like a little bit stuck because I didn't have a backup at that point in time because I'd been so used to using Andy. And then, then I gave Casper a call. I was like, right, you've got your opportunity. Let's go. So they quoted and they came at a good price point and I brought them on board and they did it. And Roland was really great to work with. He was probably one of the best producers I'd actually worked with up until that point. Very, very meticulous in how he handled things and very professional. And the project that we had for them was not an easy one. Working in the sports space, and you get very limited time with players, and you have to achieve a lot in a very short space of time. And they were amazing at it, and we produced some fantastic content off that. And then just this passion he had for the gaming thing, and then of course there was also the bank account decrease in the background that I was thinking about. It leads me into a bit of a horror story about how this kind of all got started and the jumping ship part. And you don't take anything for granted. So it was at the end of 2018. So when we come up with this idea, built a business plan, and I called in my auditor, who's now my CFO on the business, and kind of took the idea to him. And I asked him to put some build a bit of a model for me to say, if we could convert like a couple of basis points of this market on this game that we know are playing, millions of hours of this game every year into guys that would wager against one another. And we took between 5 and 10% off the top of any one of those $1 wagers. And he was like, you definitely could. And there was quite a few zeros on that spreadsheet. And yeah, so I was like, okay, cool. So we got an idea and we've got some numbers, but we had nothing else. Like it was all just on a piece of paper, So I put myself out there to some people in my network. And also this was also a very strange sequence of events. We got called into a meeting with one of our big clients, and they were going out to pitch out of nowhere. We've been doing great work for these guys for years and years and years. There was a management change. The person that was head of marketing got replaced, and she was fed up and left. And then we put us in a very compromising situation. So the junior wanted to come in and stamp her authority, put all the agency accounts out to pitch. So we had to go and justify why they should retain us as a service provider. So that threw the cat amongst the pigs a little bit. And literally after going through this repitch process, we lost it. And I was sitting at an event having a whiskey in the bar, and I met this guy by chance at the bar called Mark, and was telling him a little bit about my dreary story and then something new that I was getting into. And he was like, are you looking to raise some cash? I was like, I'm probably going to have to now. And he was like, well, I can do that for you. And he introduced me to the company that helped me set up my offshore structure. This was also something that kind of William guided me on to say, listen, if we're going to do this, you're going to do it properly, and we're going to set this up offshore. So that was one of the first things that I got done.
Yeah, that's something I've been thinking about, is the regulations around doing something new and like setting it up. I mean, this is like, especially when it's something that is new worldwide, let alone in South Africa, like how do you know the regulations that you can or cannot do? And obviously IP in South Africa has always been an issue, and it's probably even worse now. So like, how did you navigate that?
You got to learn. I'll get that. Just wait. Got to hear the horror story first. So just this guy called Tyron, and maybe it was the name that I should have been wary of. But anyway, Tyron was the guy who was helping us with the offshore setup. We were forging ahead with that, and Tyron said, look, I really like this concept. I think it's got massive opportunity and whatever. I was like, cool, thanks for the compliments early on. He's like, so look, I'm coming into a bit of money. I'd be keen to put some money in behind you if you want to raise some cash. I was like, that's amazing. Appreciate that. And, we started to talk structure of a deal. He was like, yeah, I've got some deals coming through and money's coming in from the US and I'll invest. but I was having conversations with a few people around this at the time, called up a mate that I had bumped into at the airport also that I hadn't seen in years. And he was working for a small fund up in Joburg. And I'd pitched the idea to him, and I was in quite deep conversations with his fund. I mean, this is very early stage. Like literally, we've got a piece of paper with an idea and some numbers. That's it. There's no proof of concept or anything at this point in time. And I'd taken both of these conversations quite far. And I was literally sitting at lunch with the principal of this fund, and we were talking about how the deal was going to be structured and the ratcheting back, and they were going to be quite aggressive, and what money they were going to give us, and what valuation, and how we were going to build this thing. And then I think Tyron got wind of this conversation that was going on, and he literally sent me a signed term sheet there and then while I was sitting in that meeting on our terms, which was we're raising R1 million on 100 million valuation with nothing to show for it, but besides an idea on a piece of paper. And
wow.
And he said to me at that meeting, he's like, Chris, I can't match those terms. Well done. Bought me a bottle of champagne. We cheersed, and off I went. Booked my tickets to the Ironman to go and set up the structure over there, which is, we'll get to this point. And off I went and started everything. And at that point, I then made an exit of Brand Inc., sold it to another agency, and they took the reins. I was basically like, I've got this opportunity. I'm going to build on it. We signed a commercial deal with them taking over the clients and the staff and all of that. And I was going to focus all my energy into the new business because I knew if I was going to get this right, it needed 100% of my time. And it was a big, leap of faith. And yeah, it's definitely taken a few more years off my life than I would have liked, but it was a good call. It was a good call, and seeing how far we've come and what we've managed to achieve in a relatively short space of time is very, very fulfilling. The setting the structure up overseas and trying to figure out the regulatory part there was, look, it's a learning curve. I got into incredible people in Isle of Man, and also it was leveraging the network that I had, getting introduced to people and so on, and those people have been incredibly valuable on this journey. From my director on my holding company there, Brent Thomas, he's been just fantastic in managing the company and really goes out of his way to make sure that we're looked after. And look, this is a very costly exercise. When you're paying in pounds and you're getting paying by the hour for directorship services and all the other due diligence and KYC that has to be done on incoming investors and so on, it's expensive. And I've had a few moans to William about this, the costs that we've had to incur doing this. And he's like, just shut up, Chris, just trust me. It's all going to be worth it at the end of the day. You don't want to be selling. And what he said to me right up front about sitting offshore, he's like, when this company gets acquired, you're not going to be getting acquired for obvious reasons. You want it acquired in dollars or pounds or euros. And this is why you're going to have to go and do this. Do it properly and make sure that IP is set up offshore, because we don't want it sitting here in South Africa, because moving it over after you've started this is going to be a nightmare. And he's 100% right. A lot of investment that we've managed to acquire has been, not just that they like us and they like the product, but also a very professional approach to setting up the business. So, and it was just a massive learning curve for me. And my goodness, from setting up the companies to open bank accounts to understanding regulatory requirements. I went and met with, the head of the Gambling Supervision Commission in Isle of Man to talk about our idea, because this was something very new to them. There's actually no regulatory literature or anything like that defines what it is that we do exactly. Skills-based gaming is something relatively new. There are some regulations in the world that do require it to be licensed, but the majority don't, because it sits in a bit of a gray area, and it's not deemed to be gambling or betting, so to speak, because it's, you're backing yourself in a skills-based environment. It's kind of like
an interesting concept.
Very, very interesting.
Oh, where was it when I was a kid? Damn it.
Technology wasn't there to get it right. Trust me when I say that. Even when we started this, technology was tricky to get right to actually show this thing working. And off we went, and it was just, bootstrapping this thing. And from that point, building out this POC and so on. And now coming back to the issue with Tyron. So he had committed to this 20 million rand deal and, pen to paper, all of that. And off I went and started spending money on getting everything sorted out. Never came through. We got to March. So this was at the end of 2018. I think he signed the deal end of October. Sure. It's almost like, It's almost the anniversary of that disaster. And come March the following year, money had not been received yet. And he kept on saying, it's coming, it's coming. It wasn't coming. It was all bullshit. And yeah, I had to put him on terms, and he fell out. And now I sat in this position where
you've spent money already.
Spent a significant amount of my money, and we had no POC or completed POC to show. We had sort of aspects of what we were trying to achieve in digital, but not anything that was actually a kind of a system or process that actually worked. So I just at that point in time, we had, two techies in the team, myself and Roland, William on the financial side. Not that he was hugely needed at that point, but he was at least there offering some moral support and guidance. But we managed to design something up and build it out a little bit. And I just said to the guys, we need to get to a POC point so I can show some people that may put money into this business. And that will get us going. And, I'm going to fund it from my own pocket, but you guys have to grin and bear it. And it's going to be, it's going to be brutal, but we're going to have to push through if we want to pull this off. And kudos to them. We did it. And by April, we had a proof of concept that worked, kind of. And, you can push a couple of buttons and trigger certain things happening or whatever if no one's looking. It was crazy. It's crazy. Anyway,
what's his name? Steve Jobs, iPhone story.
Oh man, yeah.
Make it until you make it.
So look, the thing is, and kudos to the techies, I was unaware of how it was being a little bit cheated here and there. But anyway, it looked good. And what I needed to demonstrate on that point was that we could match make two people. Well, first of all, you could download this app on your phone, and then you could sync the phone with your gaming account so that there was connection there, so you could verify a result. And then you could match make with another guy. You could put a coin or something into a wallet, and then create a pot, and then you could play. And then whoever won that game, you would verify the result once the match was finished. And that person, the dummy coin would move, or the pot would move to his wallet. That's what we needed to show that we talk the talk, we can actually build this technology. And we did just that, and we demonstrated it to a group of people at the ATK Arena in Claremont. So I managed to find a ex-pro gamer utilizing PUBG as the testing at that point. And then we got this pro gamer to come in, and actually met him in the morning and gave him a brief. He was like, oh, this is really cool. And he didn't disappoint. He jumped on, warmed up, and got a few kills on the game for us. So managed to show the process of eliminating his opponents and winning some money, which was great. Josh actually became our project manager for a little while in the business. He was a really lovely little success story, and he's gone on to greater things now as a proper product manager at one of the big development companies. So anyway, that's kind of how it started. And also William introduced me to what was to become our first angel investor, a really lovely man who's now the godfather to my newest addition to the family, to my daughter, Hugo Yankowitz. What a lovely guy. We met over a drink through William, and the idea, he's kind of a bit of a serial investor, done pretty well for himself. And, I nurtured that relationship a little bit in the beginning. And then, he came to have a look at this POC, and at the end of it, he said, look, I don't really know this gaming space that well, but my son says, there's a lot going on here. There's lots of opportunity, and I like you guys. And I kind of like the concept. I get the kind of what you could deem to be the gambling piece out of it, and I'll put some money in. And he did just that. And that's kind of set us on sail, or set us on course. And, I guess if Tyron hadn't given me right up front, I wouldn't have necessarily pulled the trigger on jumping ship and gone and done what I did to set everything up and got the ball rolling. So I guess, once again, you got to look back and say that it was a massive learning curve. And, as much as it was a huge negative because of the stress and strain that it caused, it did push us in the right direction. And also, what the hell were we going to do with 20 million Rand back then on 100 million Rand valuation? We didn't know what the hell we were doing. We were building some technology. Hopefully it worked. I think we probably would have squandered all that investment money before year one was out. So all of these kind of milestones that we've gone through, and we've raised additional cash and whatever, they've all come with an immense amount of learnings that we've taken forward with us into better and better at what we do. And that ultimately, led us to meeting Luke And, he came in through a further kind of angel investing round, which was also I met him through a person within my network. And, Luke comes from big $1 billion business know-how. So the fact that I just got to meet this guy, I'll be connected with him, was incredible. He's a real firecracker of note. Went to Michael House, so he's a local boy. He was born in the UK and then moved here with his mom and grew up here, and then moved back to the UK after varsity. Went to Stellies. And he was with Reef Tech Fresh. Started at the Rocket Internet Bunch, so the incubator out of Germany. He headed up the UK office, and then was the head of global operations for. They took that to $1 billion business. Reef Technologies took it to $1 billion business after that. So incredible know-how, and way beyond what experience Roland and I had. And it wasn't long after engaging with just offloading all of these expertise through his journey with us in the beginning.
It sounds quite interesting, like having to find, like, you found these people along the way that have kind of projected you onto this journey, which is quite interesting. But I think if you just look at the product itself and you start talking to people, I mean, like I said, if I was a kid and I heard about this opportunity or growing up, I mean, it's one of the things I want to ask is like, what is the limit? But Renee, I wanted to get you involved and kind of, we did the thing in the newsletter, massive opportunity in it. Like, where do you see this industry going, and how happy are you that you've got 3 daughters that are not probably going to be, or are they going to become gamers? Because, it's it's a joke.
Hey,
but
Bobby, careful. Gaming isn't only for boys.
This is true, actually.
We play a lot of Nintendo, Mario Party in our house, so it's the stepping stones. Now, I think something that Chris, you kind of alluded to it, in your journey as to where it started. Like, the professional game scene in South Africa is actually quite small. It's a handful of guys, and I mean, I was actually involved in it at school. I played a game called Age of Empires, and Age of Empires 2. I actually played in a competition of which the number 1 and number 2 player would go on and play in South Korea at the World Champs, and I came 3rd. So, wow. But it was in the these events were organized by people that were not skilled in really organizing it. There's not a lot of people that show up. It was always a bit of a mess. It's like your mom's dropping you off there going, is this safe? Like, what's happening here? It's the dodgy part of town, but it's the only venue that they could find, all of that stuff, right? And I think to a large degree, at least in a time when I was still involved, and I think it has matured somewhat, but there's a large part which is still not very professional and still very small, right? And I do know there are people that are quite professional, so don't at me in the comments. Like, I'm making a bit of a generalization here. But what I love about, Chris, what you guys are doing is you're saying, well, let's admit that the vast majority of guys are not professional gamers, right? They love to think they are, and they love to think they have a shot at this, but I mean, they're not going to win a Dota tournament. They're just having fun. They're engaging. And your product, you kind of got away from this competitive professional space, which is quite small in South Africa, but also globally. I mean, the amount of players that play in the top leagues it's not an enormous amount. But you pivoted away from that market to this enormous market, which is literally every single person that's ever playing a game. And I love that, because that's the first thing I think is really cool. The second thing that I think is really cool is many of you discovered this in your models, but I mean, if you take a slice of a wager between 2 people, I mean, it's hard to take a few more percentage points, because people are going to go, it's my money. Like, why do I have to pay you? I could just send this guy Bitcoin if I lose the game. Like, why do I need you in the middle here? So it's really hard to justify that margin. And I mean, once again, the scale that you have to do to get to justify, the business's existence on those small margins it's just out of reach. And I love with this model, you're changing around. You're going, well, if you lose the wager, all the money goes to the house. It's kind of like you have a shot at, half the money, if you will, or, whatever percentage, which is substantially more. So not only was it, the pivot away from a smaller market to a bigger size market, it's also the model change to one that is much more feasible and sustainable. And I love that about it. That's what intrigued me about this, is saying, wait a minute, this isn't an esports thing. This is just if you like games, you should like this thing. Like, it's
because it incentivizes you to be better, because you want to beat the house. You want to make sure you don't lose your money. You want to make the money. So I'm going to practice. This is a great way to practice.
Yeah, but some of the things, Chris, and you guys are on a journey. But I'm wondering, like, how do you deal with cheating, people trying to game the system? You know, Bobby's really horrible at games. So if I go over to his house and I play on his account, you know,
Just take my money.
I could help him, you know, beat that target he set for himself, and it's really hard for someone to pick that up, perhaps, or maybe not. Like, what are you doing about things like that?
So just your point about the scale of this market, you're 100% right. Like the pros and so the people that make money in gaming are the pro gamers, and those guys are athletes and, you know, going to training camps before big competitions, and, you know, there's a significant amount of management that goes around them, and sponsorship and all sorts. And then there are the $1 million streamers and content creators out there. And, you know, these guys are making significant amounts of money every month, but they make up less than 1% of the market of this global gaming market. It's tiny, tiny. So if you look at it from a South African or African context, it's really minute. And exactly that we saw that very early on. I mean, we always knew this is not the place that we wanted to play in and accommodate, you know, our services for specifically, but rather focus on the more casual side of the market, which makes up the majority of the market, being about, you know, 65 to 70%. So it's a much, much, much bigger market. And we truly believe that within this model that, you know, we are going to create guys that play games on a vocation. Like, it's, you know, they will have the ability to earn money, as do millions of professional poker players around the world. That's, you know, they back 20 years ago, or maybe even longer now, poker players had to go to big live tournaments until the online poker things like, you know, Poker Stars, etc., came about, and then suddenly everyone could play from the comfort of their couch, or, you know, on a bus, on a mobile app, or whatever. It suddenly became very accessible and very, very inclusive rather than very exclusive. And we believe exactly the same for this market. Like, we give everybody the opportunity to do it, and if you get enough, you can really, really make money from it. So to your point of the cheating thing, look, whenever there's money involved, people are going to try and cheat the system and so on. And when in our early days of free to play, and, you know, where we had structured tournament play, so, you know, we would run a tournaments on a daily basis with prize pools ranging from, you know, $20 up to a couple of $100. There were some big ones were around $2,000 or $3,000. You know, guys would quite often, like, dispute results just because they were sore losers. And I think back then we were getting, like, sort of, you know, total matches being played on the system. We were month on month, we were seeing 20% of these matches ending in disputes. And it was because of salty players. Now, as soon as we remove someone from the other side of this competitive engagement, so, you know, there it was, you know, against one another. You were challenging someone else to like a wagering concept. And as soon as it's now you against, you know, the game, or the challenges inside of a game in the normal way that you play, there's no one else to dispute you on the other side. So we completely removed that component of it. And our disputes or things that were going into our support team dropped to about, I think, 2% or whatever from 20%. So it was remarkable in that regard. But, you know, gamers are still going to be gamers, and cheaters are still going to try and cheat the system. So, yeah, what you're referring to, Renier, is Smurf. So when you Smurfers, you would go across to Bobby's machine and play on his supposedly better, or sorry, worse gamer account than yours, so you can try and cheat the system. We pick up on that very, very quickly. So our system adjusts literally, you know, on every single game. Our market system adjusts accordingly to the gamer's performance. So if someone's coming in with, you know, let's say 20 hours of gameplay, yet they're actually a pro, we will see the playing behavior almost immediately, and our system will adjust. And the two kind of flagging things that we have in place is, like, if there is a suspicious smurfer, we will drop their entry fee to the bare minimum, and also reduce their odds to 1-to-1, so they can't make any money out of it. We'll then investigate. If we confirm that it is a smurfer, they get booted off the system. So we deal with it very, very effectively, and yeah, we don't hold back.
I think, you know, as AI evolves, I mean, this is a great play for AI. I play a bit of chess.com, and I often get messages going, the system found that some guy I played against was cheating, so I'm getting points for that game. So, you can imagine, as it evolves, the APIs become more dynamic and more open. You can get AI that pretty much, you can probably look at a person playing Fortnite and going, this guy doesn't run around like Bobby, so it can't be Bobby. Or there's a high probability that it's not Bobby, and then you can just reset the bet, give the money back, and go, the AI picked up something suspect, your bet's been cancelled.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, my
manage that
nephew
very-
got me unlocked out of Fallout very quickly. I got stuck. He came here 5 minutes. He was through the stage. I was like, how did you do that? Come on.
Now you're going to get a warning message from them, Bobby.
Yeah.
For admitting.
But that's fascinating. Something you brought up in the newsletter as well, Renier, is the amount of data that's actually being used or utilized, the fact that there are open APIs that are available to pick up this data. I mean, Chris, can you just touch on the technology layer of like, how are you being able to connect all of this, get all the data and kind of aggregate it to be able to understand when a smurfer comes along or whatever?
Okay. So, yeah, I'm not going to give too much away about how the technique works. So when you download the app and you register yourself, you go through a sort of geolocation. We need to make sure you are in a territory that's eligible. So, for instance, just to give you an example, we are currently available in the UK, the EU, bar Italy, and France, and the Nordics. So, very focused in that territory at the moment, and we make sure that our players are accordingly based on geolocating. And then you've got to link your gamer account. So, if it's Epic Games or the like from many of the others, Activision Blizzard or Steam. Once you link those accounts, now we've got access to see all of your historical data in that game. So we know how many hours you've played, how many games you've played, how good you are, etc. And from that, technology then prices these guys accordingly. Okay. And so it's very, very sportsbooky, except the one big difference is here is, like if you go and open up a Betway account, so Renier's going to go bet on the Springboks, right? So he opens up an account, puts a bet down. What does Betway know about Renier? They know probably where he lives, what his phone number is, what his email address is, and that he likes the Springboks. That's it. That's all they know. And then as you start to place bets or whatever on them winning and outcomes, they start to learn more and more about you, about your habits, how long you're on, how much money you're winning or losing, and they start to build a profile around you. We've already got access to those profiles from those gaming accounts, and that allows us to generate these markets accordingly. So yeah, that's pretty much how it works.
I really like it.
So Renier, there's actually a little bit of a background project going on at the moment with integrating with chess.com, because huge open APIs, the direct integration that we're able to achieve with chess.com is massive. So that's a little side project that's going on.
Listen, I saw a stat somewhere. They said there were, I think it was close to 200,000 new people in South Africa playing chess.com in the last 12 months.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's like,
anyway.
Making a comeback.
Chess.com has got one of the best and most evolved ELO systems on ranking and so on. It's an incredible product, and you'll be able to skirmish on that in the near future.
Awesome. And obviously you need to be 18 and over for anything on Skirmish.
100%. Although, like I said before, this is not a regulated product. It's not deemed to be gambling. We've taken a moral high ground on it for obvious reasons. Also, we want to behave like these guys, because we do believe in the years to come, regulators are going to look to regulate what it is that we're doing, and not necessarily because it's deemed to be gambling, but because there's a financial opportunity for them. Regulators also there to make money for their economies, and why not license companies like ours that kind of play in a similar space to the betting?
I'd hate to finish off without bringing up sort of the Web3 space and the metaverse. I mean, are you guys looking at playing in that space, or where are you? And maybe you can just touch on where do you think it's going to go in the next couple of years?
So it's an interesting one. So we kind of we define it as a Web 2.5 product, because our financial system is built on the blockchain. So we co-built a wallet system in conjunction with a company called CoinMode in the UK. They're FCA regulated. They're basically a neo-bank. So whenever a user registers on our platform, they're basically opening a UK-based bank account that they can put euros and pounds into. It'll be dollars and multiple other currencies coming. So it's crypto ready. So because it's built on a blockchain, it can accept, Ethereum, blockchain, XRP, etc. We haven't switched that on yet. We need to get this fiat system working very, very smoothly first but that will also come in the next 12 months. So players will be able to utilize all forms of crypto to be able to play on our system. And if NFTs manage to survive, they'll also be able to use NFTs as a way to enter a
yeah, because I know that one of the problem statements from the gaming side was the fact that you could earn money on one game or buy skins on the one game, and you couldn't, transfer it and sell it and things like that. So there's definitely a lot of space of play. Like when we have these bull runs and everyone's talking about NFTs and all of that, like there's a lot of those conversations. It's very quiet at the moment, but those problem statements are still there. And I think if you positioned yourself like you have, and you understand how this technology is going to plug in, I think you guys are set for a great opportunity there. So well done.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, 100%. And you know what? As tough as it's been to get right, and the story with our financial and our wallet system is for another day. But yeah, it's been significantly harder than anything we anticipated to pull off, because it's all new technology, from pioneering this player versus to having a blockchain-based wallet system, to customer funds from different territories and then managing it accordingly. I mean, what it does bring is a significant amount of security to customer funds, because it's sitting with an FCA-regulated banking product. So the funds remain the customers, even though it's in theory in our system. The only time the funds leave would be, it gets tokenized. The token becomes your entry fee. Once the result is verified, then from our wallet, funds will then, our player liquidity wallet, then or fund liquidity wallet, then funds move to the player's wallet, and then they can extract that to wherever we want. But amazing. The future iterations of our product, enough more utility will come to it in the new year. So you're not wanting customers to take funds out of their wallets who going into other bank accounts. We want to retain those funds in their utility with that account. So it becomes their bank account. So they can utilize their Skiirmish wallet to go and purchase V-Bucks online, or Gcoin, or buy a coffee point of sale. There'll be multiple things that they can do with it.
No, I think it's really cool to hear a lot of these conversations died down, obviously with the crypto downward spiral. But I love the fact that you guys are still playing. So we talk about in the crypto space, it's a bear market, but we call it the build market. It's where the skirmishes of the world are actually building and getting ready for when things come right, and kind of you're not stopping, right? You kind of see the future, and I think what's going to be fascinating is when the new generation of kids that are already in these kind of plugged in to understand how the gaming world works, and they are now eligible for, proper skirmish and all of that. I think you've got a great future-proof product there. I'm really excited to watch how you guys go.
If there is such a thing as future-proof.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I love the concept itself. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think we've done everything that we can to make sure that we stay ahead of the competition in that regard. We have seen competitors pop up here and there and trying to do, but this blockchain wallet system is something that is very unique and sets us aside from others. Let's hope we get it right.
Yeah. Well, all the best. Rennie, any last comments, takeaways before we call it a day?
No, I think it's very innovative, Chris, and well done for what you and your team have done. And I know you still have a lot to figure out, but we are watching with great expectation. I think what you've done so far is amazing, and looking forward to see how you conquer the world.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, James. I appreciate the very kind words and your time to tell your viewers about it.
Yeah, I'm going to go turn on my PlayStation right now and practice.
Good man. Unfortunately, you won't be able to play in South Africa for probably a few more months. So
I've got time.
Get the practice in. Just one little parting shot when you're talking about playing Age of Empires. So, like I said, I'm not the gamer in the team. However, I do have a little bit of a gaming claim, and one of my original partners in Brand Inc. reminded me of this the other day. So when we started Brand Inc., it was just two of us in a 3x3 meter office in Randburg and Johannesburg. And we didn't have a huge amount to do back then while we were setting up and trying to get business and so on. But just before lunchtime, we would play Counter-Strike against each other. The original Counter-Strike and the original
1.6.
Yeah. And the guy who got the most kills got a free lunch from the Nando's across Jan Smuts. Let me tell you, I had a lot of grilled chicken back then, so I was the king of it. And Judd reminded me, he's like, you know what, Chris, Skirmish flipping started back then. We were skirmishing for grilled chicken from Nando's.
There you go. Nando's spawns another creative bit of work there. Love this.
Amazing. Cool. Let's call it there.
all in heavenly light that's shining across here on my face. It's like
Look at that. That's the blessing right behind. Now
Brilliant,
you look even
Chris.
more like Gandalf, Chris.
Yeah. If I go over, the light also shines out of my ass.
Wow. Cool. All right, Chris. Well, thank you very much for sharing your story. It's super exciting to see how you guys grow from here. And yeah, love to have you on again and see how it's grown in a couple of months. Thank you for joining.
Love chatting. All right.
Cool. Cheers, gents. Thanks so much.
Cheers, Bobby. Cool. Lekker, guys. Nice
Cool.
one.
Thanks, Chris.
Pleasure, guys.
Yeah.